Good evening, everybody. It's Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky. Coast to coast, all around the world. We have a special guest today on our show, Mr. John. Hurry up, go get a drink, grab a chair, sit back, relax. Where are we going today? I don't know. It's all up to him. We are going to have some fun. That's for sure. How you doing, Mr. John?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Oh, wonderful. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. It's an honor. It really is.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little about yourself.
My name's John Eaves. I've been doing this for 11 years. I got started back in 1993. I had a daylight sighting.
Oh, wow.
And then somehow or another, Finding Bigfoot got a hold of me and had me come on the show. And after that, I went on a expedition, BFRO expedition, and I've been hooked.
So your first encounter, how did that change you?
I did not go back into that area fishing for well over 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people I interview, they tell me they have along the same lines of you. Some of them actually get PTSD because they can't wrap their mind around what they saw. Because scientists tells us what we are supposed to see, or what is real and what is not real, what is heard and what we do not hear. So that's kind of shocking, and you're not the only one that I've talked to that's actually not been in the woods for quite a long time because of the sighting. So, I mean, what was running through your mind?
Get the hell out of there.
I mean, what size was it roughly?
9 to 10 foot tall.
Ooh.
At least 4 foot across at the shoulder.
Wow. That's huge. Were you just deer hunting or something, or?
We were fishing.
Fishing. And what happened? Did it just walk out in front of you, or?
We went to this old road bed, and we were walking up it. And as we were walking, we came to where there was at one time a bridge or something. And we turned around and looked back. And we're standing there talking, looking at the river, and we heard a thud behind us. Didn't pay no attention. Started back, and there was a log laying there that was not there a minute ago. So we just stepped over the log, started back down the road bed, heard something to our left, and the guy in front of me turned around and looked at me, and I looked at him, and we looked up to the left at the same time, and it was standing right there.
Wow. Wow, that's something. Did you take off running immediately, or did you just like freeze and just like, oh shit, what do I do next?
Ran.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you on that. Was you a believer at the time or a non-believer?
I guess a believer. I liked watching the shows when I was a kid and reading books.
Yeah. So since your encounter, what have you been doing?
Uh, well, now I hit the woods anytime I can.
Do you come across any evidence, tree bends, footprints?
Um, Several tracks. I've got probably, I don't know, 500 audio clips.
Oh, no way.
Um, Stick structures. One area before I moved up to North Carolina from Georgia, I was actually GPS marking all the structures, and I was up at 67.
Wow. Now that's amazing. Now, one thing I learned about interviewing people is that every 2 inches in a track equals 1 foot on a Bigfoot. Have you ever heard that before?
No, I haven't.
So keep that in mind. Use it in your toolbox. David Parker or Mr. Parker, or I think's his name, is the one that came on my show a couple of months ago and brought that forward. And a lot of people say it's actually consistent between where they eyeballed the creature compared to the footprint, like on a tree branch or opening in the trees.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, if you measure your own feet, you'll probably come up with the same results as what a lot of people tell me. So I try to pass that on to other people, especially ones with the boots on the ground, and let them put that in their toolbox to use. That way they can estimate, how tall it actually is, because you may be good estimating, a size from a distance, but on an average person, they scientifically proven that people cannot judge how tall something is from 25 or 30 yards or 50 yards. And they did a scientific test on that on one of the shows a few years ago. They really did. So keep that in mind. Hopefully that helps you out some. That's for sure. You know, but you have over 500 audio recordings, you say?
Yes.
Now that's impressive.
And I
So,
classify them as unknown.
well, and here's the way I look at that. Okay. And I look at that, I look at this field with the paranormal field that nobody's an expert in. I don't care what degree you have, what piece of paper says you're a PhD or whatever, because we don't know exactly what we're dealing with or what we're seeing. We have the ones that says we're flesh and blood. We have the other one says they're supernatural, and it depends on your encounter. It depends on your experience is what you're going to actually believe. So that's my thinking. People ask me all the time, "Hey, Grizzly, is this picture or video real?" And first thing I say is number one, I wasn't there. Number two, I didn't take the photograph or video, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And a lot more people are coming forward, and you see in groups that you don't want people to bully people, make fun of people, and put them down with emojis and stuff like that. And I'm pretty strict on that in my groups. And because somebody sees that and they're going to say, hell no, I'm not going to come forward and talk about my experience if they're being ridiculed and hang up to dry,
Correct. I think one of my best audio clips, something walked into camp and said my name twice.
I'm hearing a lot of that.
And we cannot, I use Audacity, and we cannot match it to any person.
Wow. Now that's pretty wicked. And I'm hearing a lot of that, those encounters where they're coming through the woods or camp and mentioning people's names like they know you. like they've been watching you for a while. I mean, what do you think about it?
They have been. This was in an area I was going to 3, 4 nights a week for well over a year.
Yeah, so they have been watching you then. That's wild. Now that would give me the for jeepers. That really
Oh,
would.
there's some more from that area.
Really? Let's hear it.
I threw a pretty good sized rock down the side of a mountain and yelled out, "You hairy bastards, here's something to play with." Woke up the next morning and it's right outside my tent.
No way.
I had several witnesses.
Now, somebody tells me that's not a sign, then what is it then, you know?
Another
That's for
time up
sure.
there, when COVID hit, I wasn't able to get up there for about 2 months.
Right.
I got up there and parked my car next to my gifting spot. As I was coming back to the car, I heard giggling, like children giggling. Got back to my car, and there's a pretty good sized rock sitting on the hood of my car.
Oh, no.
No dent. It was just set there.
Wow. Yeah, I hear that they can mimic a lot. They mimic humans, children, animals, birds, codes.
Machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I sent you a link. Um, and the reason why I sent this to you is one night I couldn't sleep. And I was actually up to about, I don't know, say 7 o'clock in the morning or so. And I'm trying to figure out between the communities, I noticed that they're not as a whole. And I'm trying to figure out how to bridge that gap where people that are on expeditions like you all that have all this evidence where they can share it with everybody, share their knowledge, and maybe share some tools of the trade or their experiences with everybody. And I notice certain groups are they're like the SS, either you're this way or you don't belong in the group. And and unfortunately I look at all that and I always say it depends on the person and their encounters, because we're not experts. We actually don't know what they are. Do they go to inner dimensions? I have no idea. Do they cloak themselves? I have no idea. People swear up and down they do. But
Yeah.
we look at the polar bear, and the polar bear, his skin is black, and the hair is like fiber optics, and it reflects the surroundings, so that's why it's white. And some people think that's the same case with Bigfoot. And I walk says I dance with Bigfoot, but it keeps stepping on my toes. I walk. I wrote a song, questions I would ask if you could understand, and there was my dream. My insane friend sent me through a live chat. He just said my name. But that night I couldn't sleep. I thought, what could I do to take the community and people like you that have all this evidence, because people want to hear it. People want to hear the howls and growls and the stuff that goes bump in the night. It just makes their hair stand up on their arms. So with that being said, and me trying to get everybody to come as one, which the old saying is, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right?
Right.
So I came up with the group. It says share your EVPs, or no, excuse me, share your evidence podcast, EVPs, footprints, howls, and growls. and that is out there for people like you that has all these recordings where you can upload anything you want. And all my paranormal groups, which I own 3 of, you can actually post things anonymously on there by hitting the switch. So you don't have to worry about, if somebody wants to make fun of you or, oh, he made that up or anything like that. Like I said, we're pretty strict on that in our groups. I mean, we got people that monitor our groups 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I'm not saying something's not going to slip through. So we really try to, defend people and make sure that does not happen. And so far, what I tell people is, if you don't agree with it and don't agree with their thoughts or their experience, and scroll on. So I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't there with you. They weren't there with you when you had your recordings. They weren't there when that rock was placed on your hood in front of your tent. I mean, that would scare the hell out of me. It really would.
Oh, you just don't know.
No, I don't. And that's the funny thing. People actually ask me all the time to go on expeditions. And unfortunately, I use a cane. So I always tell people, if I go and we have to run, it's not my fault if you trip and fall. And I'll leave it at that. So, somebody's got to take one for the team, and it sure ain't going to be me. So that's for sure. But I come up with that group, and it's actually doing pretty well. A lot of people are using it. It's only a couple of weeks old, 2.5 weeks old. I mean, it's growing. But, feel free to go out there and post your audio, pictures, whatever you want. It's no bar holds. So, whatever you want to put on there. If you want to go live one night camping or whatever you want to do, put it out there. Let people watch it. That's one thing I didn't understand why this group didn't, associate with this group, because this group's got this, just like the footprint, 2 inches equals 1 foot approximately on the Sasquatch. To me, we're all in the same field together as one. And I think that we should be a little more openly to each other and not be an SS, to where if you don't believe in my beliefs, then you don't belong in my group. I mean, how can you tell somebody that?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's experiences are different. And for all the admins and moderators out there, I just want to give you a shout out live and give you some love. Thank you for letting me go live in your Facebook groups. I greatly appreciate it. So tell us some more about some of your encounters and stuff.
I don't even know where to begin.
That tells me you got a slew of them.
Well, first, my nickname is the deranged gnome.
Really?
We were sitting around a fire one night, and somebody said, "You look like a deranged gnome," and it stuck. The guys I Bigfoot with were known as the gnome.
Oh, okay.
We do things different. We don't go perfectly quiet. When we go out, most of the time, we'll just sit around a fire in a hot spot. We will throw rocks back into the woods, yell at them. Of course, call them hairy bastards.
Right.
But we get results. My one spot in Georgia, believe it or not, I had one walk up to my hand, and I woke up to it rubbing my head.
Oh, hell no.
Another time in that spot, I was sitting at the fire watching YouTube. I felt a hand on my shoulder and looked over, and there was one standing there.
What the hell? Are you a magnet or something?
Some of my friends think I am. They come up in that one spot in broad daylight, right at the edge of the woods. If you look, you would see them. I've actually got one picture. They also would do a lot of trading, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
Like they would come into camp if I had left, and there'd be a turkey feather laying where something was. It
That's what.
may be something as simple as a utensil, or I had a fly box with about 200 flies in
Whoa.
it. At night, you'd be sitting there and a rock would hit your chest, and you look up and you see two red eyes. That's just in Georgia. Now I'm up here in North Carolina. We've got a hot spot that they like to throw rocks. They never
Oh,
hit you, but rocks come in. In
what
fact,
goes through
this
your
past
mind when that happens?
do what?
I said, what goes through your mind when that happens?
Throw rocks back.
Uh,
Um, we use a slingshot a lot of time and shoot rock up and out. In fact,
wow.
we just had an expedition this past weekend, and we've had some rock thrown. I haven't had a chance to go over the audio, but pretty sure we got a Ohio howl.
Wow.
That same spot about a month ago, we got a growl.
And you're not scared at all.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, that tells me a few things about you. It tells me that you are a good man. It also tells me that you have a big heart and you go into the woods with no intentions of harming these creatures. And the
Correct.
reason why I say that is because people like you have more encounters. I just can't believe being touched. I mean, that I would probably mess my pants and have a heart attack and stroke at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
But they know your intentions, and I really do believe that from the interviews and the experiences that I had with other people. They know your intentions going into the woods if you're a good person or a bad person. Just like animals can smell fear. So
The only time I didn't feel threatened, but my wife did. We were up a trail where some bear hunters had reported 2 days before bowling ball sized rocks getting thrown at them. We were sitting there, and behind my wife, there was a deep kind of whistle. And at the same time, she looked at me, I looked at her, and we heard something and looked up. And there was I don't know, it was, you can't say, it was probably 18-inch, 2 foot diameter rock coming down the mountain, like through
oh
there.
man.
She was about ready to leave. But I went back in that same area about a month ago and basically told them, you want to throw something, here I am. Heard the same whistle, turned and looked downhill, and got popped in the back of the head with a small rock. It left a red spot.
Wow. That's incredible. And here we got people that are going out in the woods 20 to 25, 30 years, don't have any experiences like this at all or any encounters.
I can blow your mind. And a lot of the stuff I've seen or have had happen, I've got witnesses. We were on an expedition in Tennessee and got chased out of the woods by one that was about 14 foot.
Oof. Yeah, I couldn't run.
We actually turned white lights on and turned around, and he was behind us, walking the same pace we were.
Unbelievable.
But we all got zapped that night.
The infrasound?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of reports of that now. How did that affect you?
Maybe sick feeling, like I was going to throw up. And I was pissing blood for about 2 days.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
I've been zapped 5 or 6 times.
That's crazy. You know, I actually hear encounters where people get zapped. I also hear encounters from the interviewees that they never been zapped. And it seems like every person's affected differently when they are zapped by a Sasquatch. You know, and some people say it, you know, it doesn't exist. But I'm like, well, how can he explain his experiences? Their
Well,
experience.
that night when we got zapped, there was 3 of us. 2 of us got sick. Third one didn't. But here's the odd part. His cell phone went from like 10% to 90% charge
Oh, wow.
because he was talking about how low his cell phone. He wished he had brought his battery pack with him because we were in an area that he could text his wife. And when we got back out of there, he looked at his phone and it was over 90%.
That's wild. Because usually it's the
So
opposite way.
we suspect he got zapped, but it hit his phone. It's just a theory.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the only thing we can think of is you know a theory and theorized stuff because we don't know. But that's one hell of an example. It really is.
It just there's so much, and I'm a believer they're flesh and blood. Just from what I've seen and experienced. And when people ask, well, how do they hide food? Well, I usually say, have you ever been deer hunting?
Yeah,
You're out in the woods on a deer stand, got 50 yards clear view, and you look down, look up, and there's a buck standing there. You never saw him come. You look down to take your gun off safety, look up, and he's gone. You never saw him. You never heard him.
yeah, that's true. I mean that's a very good point to make. You know, I hear that a lot. You know that they come and go and they can step in a tree line and just disappear. You know, deer are naturally camouflaged to fit in with their surroundings. Even with the leaves that have fallen in the fall that crunch, sometimes you don't even hear the deer walk up. Now, you'll hear the squirrel looking around for a nut, but you won't hear the deer come in. I mean, that's
Yeah.
happened to me many times. So that's really interesting. That really is. How you doing, Bo? Glad to have you on the show. But that's wild. That really is. I mean, what message do you have for the non-believers?
Get out in the woods. Find a hot spot where there's like many reports. Just get out in the woods. Build a fire. Sit around the fire. Watch. Listen. Act normal.
I mean, that makes sense. It really
Do
does.
some research on what to listen for, what to look for. See what happens.
One of the things I always recommend to people is to check with the local Indian tribe in the area. And the reason I say that is because they're in tune with Sasquatch or Bigfoot, however you want to call it. And there are some good resources from there. Or, you know, learn from people that has been doing a lot of it for many years, that they have some examples or something that they may do. Like your encounters are off the chart. I mean, that's just flabbergasting. You know, I probably would have a stroke, somebody rubbing my head. You know what I'm saying? I mean, no offense. So, I mean,
I
I've
said
heard
a few choice words,
my ass. I would have said a lot more than that.
but I've actually got it on audio. You could hear something walk in your camp, and then you hear me jump up to the.
uh, yeah, there's something with you with them that there's a connection somehow. There really is. There's got to be.
A couple
These are
people have
not your average
said
encounters.
that,
Yeah.
and
So,
I'm not exaggerating. Upwards of maybe 40 sightings.
wow. That is wild. Well, like I said, there are people that I know that I spoke to that's been in the field for over 20 plus years and never had anything close to what you have encountered at all. And, you know, I don't know if they're doing stuff wrong or they're not doing stuff right. I mean, I have no idea.
Well, we all go in the woods unarmed. I think that has a lot to do. And then uh, we've talked about this. I've got a buddy that goes with me some. We both have had uh, a serious head injury when we were younger, and we wonder if that has something to do with it.
It could have. It really could. You know, it's hard to tell because all the interviewees that I interview, you know, they have different experiences, different encounters. How you doing, Flat Rock? Hey, Bo. Bo says, "Good man. Flesh and blood is the only thing that makes sense." You know, I have different encounters with different people, so I really don't know what to believe at times.
Yeah.
You know, I believe what you encountered is real. I think you're coming from the heart, sincere, and being honest with me. but there's some kind of connection with you and them that just no matter where you go, it seems like you have some type of encounter. That's wild.
It is. It's enough to where I've thought about doing it. Just stop it.
Really?
Because most people, other than my group I go out with, don't believe. They say, "Oh, you saw a bear. It was a bear."
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I know a difference between a bear and a Bigfoot. There's a very distinctive difference.
Yeah.
So they always want to blame something on something else that doesn't exist on something that does exist. Oh, that's what you saw. You didn't see that. No, I don't
And
buy that.
I guess you could call it pop their cherry on some people where they went out with me and got to see one. Several people. A good friend of mine, first night out, got to see two red eyes looking at us, and we were total black, no light, and they blinked.
Wow. You know, if anybody ever has a chance that you let them go with you, that's to me, that's a blessing. Because evidently you're doing something right that people are not doing, or you just got that natural law of attraction to you.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is.
I'm pretty sure everybody that hangs out in my little group has seen at least one, if not three or four, except for my wife. She hasn't seen one yet. She thinks she's anti Bigfoot, but she has got to see the strange lights, the red eye, and heard them.
So what does she think to this day after encountering all that?
She's a believer. She follows me. If I take off up the mountainside, she's going to be right on the heel.
I would be too. I would be too.
I've seen two times in 2 years she got nervous. One was this past weekend. We had one do a wood knock right behind our tent. And then the other time, there's this road we go, and I turned to go down another road, and she just started like, "No, let's get at it, get at it."
Wow.
And
Swimming's
of course, I
important.
listened to her.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Actually, I have. I've been getting my buddies to get together notes and stuff that have happened when I'm with them. And I've got a notebook where I've jotted stuff and try to get something together.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the encounters that you have had in the past and what's continuously going on right now. So, it just makes you wonder what can you teach people that they're not doing right, and what you can help them to change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there that don't have those encounters. Why? I don't know. You know, everybody does something different. Like you said, you go out there, have fun, and cuss them out and let it roll.
Yeah.
So it just makes you wonder a lot. That's all. You know, what's going through the creatures' minds and how they can stay hidden for all this time. And, you know, I mean, what do you think about the Appalachian Trail and Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Alaskan Triangle? And then, you know, I'm going to bring up 411. What do you think about all that?
Well, like the Appalachian Trail runs less than 2 miles from my house.
And it's about an hour and a half for mine.
I live right on the North Carolina Tennessee border, and there's actually a report from right up here. But like I said with the deer, if they just step off the trail, you're not going to see them.
I mean, that makes sense. It really
And
does.
then a lot of times when they're out and about, everybody's asleep.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
My
But
goal would
uh-huh.
be to be able to hike and squat the Appalachian Trail.
Oof. No, you're brave. All the stories I heard, people running or jogging up the trail, and the woman turns the corner, and other people are behind her, and they just disappear. The hunters disappear with no camping gear found, no clothing found, no rifles or anything found.
I know it's a inside joke, but a lot of my buddies say I'm the next missing 411.
I don't know. I mean, you could be. I mean, especially with the encounters that you have, it's very interesting to see and hear what you have gone through. It's amazing. And the people that's out here listening to us right now probably cannot fathom what you've been through.
They're probably thinking I'm nuts.
You know, hey, we're all nuts somehow, some way. You know, I remember 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't even talk about Bigfoot. You know, people thought you were crazy,
Yeah.
you know, and they did this to you. So
Well, like on this,
now people are coming forward and telling their stories. And that's why I said that it's so crucial that we share the evidence and we share our knowledge to each other. Because what you're saying right now on coast to coast, worldwide, you're giving other people the courage to come forward and say, guess what? That's happened to me too. Or this is my encounter. And they're getting enough braveness to come forward and speak of it.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, some people come forward with, I would call it National Enquirer encounters,
Right.
which a lot of times I don't believe. I think they just want the attention. But there are a lot of encounters that have happened and nobody will talk about. It may be something as simple as they looked out a window and a woman's looking back at them.
Right. Right. And like I always said, and don't get me wrong, we always got a little Johnny shitface running around the middle of the woods with the monkey suit causing havoc on people. Come on, we know that happens. Okay, we know there's hoaxers out there.
Yeah.
But with your years of experience and your encounters, you know what is real and what is not is real. You know what is a true track and not a double step bear track.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of differences that you can notice in footsteps where they are actually real or phony or fake. So, and I try to explain that to people all the time. And, oh, you can't tell a difference. Oh, yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. So,
and what really sucks about track is up where I live, they don't leave many tracks, and if they do, it's not castable.
yeah, because the terrain and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe that.
We see them all the time. You'll see impressions in like a moss bed or even the leaves or on an embankment, but there's just no way to cast it.
Yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, that happens that not all the time you're going to have something that is castable. And people are going to have to realize that, you know, because I know everybody wants tangible evidence. And, sir, this is the way I look at it. This is just my opinion only. That I believe that with all the unconclusive DNA, the eDNA, which I always bring up, ain't that right, Bo and Flat Rock, where I can test the waters, the creeks, the rivers, the ponds, anything that walks through it, lives through it, urinates, whatever, I can tell what lives there. They always come up with 98% human, 2% unknown, or unconclusive, because it doesn't match anything. And right there's your evidence. You know, and then everybody says, well, until I have a body on the table, I'm not going to believe it. Well, this is Grizzly's opinion only, I think. And, you know, from testimony, unfortunately, it is hearsay, which is a third party. So you got to be careful what you talk about when it comes to that. You know, Bo, eDNA is insane. You know, you can actually take soil samples of the footprint or the track and send that in and get DNA off of it. And I think Bo was telling me that's listening that now they can pull DNA out of the air. Technology has gone so far, you know, and it's amazing that you look at the crime rates, you know, 30, 40 years ago, and they're like, one day we're going to have something to test this with, so we're going to keep it as evidence. And lo and behold, it becomes true. But when you look at people saying, like Mount St. Helens, where people stated that they seen choppers with big cargo nets hauling big animals out that are dead. The 99 forest fire out Midwest, where the firefighters were working on that Sasquatch that was burnt alive, 3/4 of the body. National Guard showed up, allegedly took the body and said, you weren't here, I wasn't here, you did not see this, or else, you know, the government knows about it. And I always say, follow the money. You know, I mean, look what happened in the Midwest when they found that owl that was that miniature spotted owl that was almost extinct. Man, oh my God, it shut down the lumber company. They lost millions of dollars.
Same thing with Bigfoot or mountain lions.
Yep. That's the truth. It really is. And, you know, it just makes you wonder, you know, when I tell people to follow the money, you have to follow the money. I mean, there are things out there the government don't want us to know. Scientists don't want us to know that things exist. And Bow and Flat Rock, you hear me all the time on my show. There's monsters that wash up on beaches. First thing they do, the city or county government, is dig a hole and bury it. I'm like, why not get a flatbed truck and a crane and let's take it back to the lab and see what it is? I mean, for goodness sakes, fishermen are catching stuff in their nets that's supposed to be extinct 1,000,000 years ago.
Right.
Or they're catching stuff that they don't know what it is. Or that washes up on beaches.
Or like that great white that something ate it.
Yep.
And the tracking sensor showed a rise in temperature as it dropped in depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and anytime somebody talks to me about an encounter, the first thing I do is I throw science out. And some people can agree with me, some people cannot. That's okay. It's we can agree to disagree. But we are programmed as we are born and as we grow up, what is real, what is not real, what to believe in, what not to believe in. And that brings me up to the religion. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Grizzly's going to bring it up. I do believe, I have my faith, but there are books missing out of the Bible that are intentionally left out on purpose for us not to know about. Do you agree with that statement? So, Flat Rock says eDNA is the future. Yeah, it is. But, what is real anymore? Have you ever seen Dog Man? That would scare the living hell out of me. Bigfoot would
do
probably
know people that have.
Where does he come into play? Is he the demons that are leashed from the gates of hell to cause havoc on earth? I don't know. But things are out there that exist that people say they don't exist. So if you believe in Bigfoot because your encounters, then you have to sort of believe in the Dog Man, the Rake, the Goat Man, and whatever else cryptids that comes along the way. Because where do you draw the line in the sand and say enough's enough and that does not exist? When you used to have something that rubs your forehead or touches you that does exist and you see it with your own two eyes and you have witnesses, where do you draw the line?
Right.
So Todd says, I've never seen either that. I know, but I bet they seen me out there. That's right. I have some groups that go on expeditions, and when they walk back to their vehicles, going back to the trail, so I actually take the camcorder. I can see if I can do this. I can never do it right in the picture. And hold the camcorder backwards as they walk all the way back. And most of the time, they tell me they catch one peeking around a tree at them as they're leaving.
Yes.
And that's why you see some people wear GoPros on the back of their chest and front of their chest so they can catch everything. So, it is. And you've been doing this for how long?
11 years.
I suggest you write a book. I think it'd be a top seller. I think people would really enjoy it. I really do. You've got encounters that people just never had. I mean, I interviewed people for Travel Channel, A&E, other channels on cable, and, they've been doing this for 25, 30 years, never had experience. They've heard sounds, but they've never made contact. So, with that being said, I would, urge you to move forward with thinking about getting that done. Drop to 2,000 feet deep after eating great wine. Never tried to trick the Sasquatch with hidden cameras. Yeah, that's right. And that's another thing is I know that I've been told that they could pick up on our IR on the cameras. So, they know when they're there and stuff. So that's
I
pretty
believe that.
Yeah. And that's why I had one guy said that they chewed on his cameras, ripped it off trees. They find the cameras 2 or 3 days later because they were tossed 40 or 50 yards. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying all these are Sasquatch encounters. It could be humans. Humans are destructive. But when you go so far back in the woods that you're not expecting to even meet somebody or even see a person, let alone somebody walking barefoot in the middle of the forest that you're 5 or 6 miles off the trail, bare feet. I mean, come on, and you use some common sense of that. That's the way I look at it,
Yeah.
and that's the way I view it.
I think also that they can hear the frequencies of our electronics.
I'm glad you brought that up because we have one gentleman that states the same thing, and he will take anybody out that is a non-believer to his locations, and his number one rule is no electronics, because he thinks the same thing, that they can pick up on it. And that's why the batteries go dead in the trail cameras. That's why we get the blurry pictures. That's why cameras malfunction. But they know that it's there, and they can pick up on those vibrations. And he went to one of his hot spots, and he was like, I'm going to show these 5 or 6 people that are non-believers that we're going to have eye shine. We're going to have something that's going to encounter us. And within 10 minutes, he was out there, and it was just perfectly still quiet. And he looks down the line and, in the darkness, and he sees a guy with a flashlight holding a camera. He told everybody right then and there, we're done. We're not going to see anything tonight.
Yeah.
So I really do believe what you're saying is sort of true. And Laura Church says maybe we're not supposed to know.
I also believe I've got stuff on audio that we should have heard with our ear, and we're not picking it up.
And see, that doesn't make any sense. And that goes back to what I've been told, whether it's true or not, that Sasquatch or Bigfoot can usually reveal themselves to only certain people or hear, or only certain people can hear things.
Well, a lot of it's like little clicks, mouth pop, and it'll sound just like one was right there at my mic doing it, and I'm 30 feet from the mic, never heard it.
Wow.
And like I've got a growl that was on audio from about a month ago. There was 5 of us. All 5 of us heard it, plain as day. But on the audio, you could barely hear it. And the mic was 20 feet from where we're out.
Wow. Yeah.
I just wonder if it's some frequencies that, or something that causes it.
And I actually believe in that. I think, that they're capable of doing that. And then people start to say, well, Chris, now you're starting to get into the or Grizzly, you're starting to get into the paranormal side of Sasquatch. No, not necessarily. You know, you think about how catfish finds their food. They don't do it by eyesight. You know, that's why they have the whiskers and the sensors. Same thing with shark, feeling vibrations in the water. A drop of blood and a mile away, they can taste it. And you know, I mean, it's wild what animals are capable of doing.
Right.
Just like dogs tracking humans, finding human remains, finding guns, weapons out in the field or being tossed. So, you know, you have to be open minded. Just because you have had the experience of this and that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's the way I look at things. So,
yeah.
microphone has significant difference in the sounds I can pick up than versus the human ear. Yeah, you're right, Bo. I do believe that. You're getting a lot of comments too. Hey, Scarborough. That's from Todd. You know Todd? Lord Church. Maybe these creatures will be a part of a tribulation and won't be here, and neither will any of these believers. Well, you know, here's the thing. God said in the Bible that he has made creatures seen and unseen. So you take that at face value. Jesus Christ is going to return. Well, probably so. You know, I mean, I don't know what to think. You know, the Bible says that God tossed or threw out a third of his angels from heaven. Where'd they go to, John?
I don't know.
Are they the Watchers? Are they Bigfoots? I mean, who knows? But like I said, I'll say it again. I urge you to write that book. Sit down one day and get all your notes together and let it rip. So, you know, I mean, I've got quite a few people to write books. Some are interesting, some are really interesting, but yours is like the icing on the cake because, you know, I had one guy on the show that Sasquatch sat on the edge of the tent and he thought it was a human at first. So he took his knife out and he kind of poked it just a little bit. It wouldn't move. Then he started feeling all the way down to the butt cheeks. And he was like, this is not human by no means, the width of the cheeks. And I mean, I was dying laughing because, I mean, how many people you know rubs butt cheeks with Sasquatch? Or rub the cheeks. But, you know, he swears up and down he did, and his kids were scared, and he didn't know what to do. And I'm not going to say where the location happened, but, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone states that the beast of the field will be a third of the population. And that's probably true. You know. So what other experiences have you had, John?
Rocks thrown, logs thrown, lost count on the red eye, green eye, rock tossing back and forth. Just visuals, different places, different times. We've a couple of my buddies and I have witnessed like time loss.
Really?
Like, just say for instance, it took us 30 minutes to get from point A to point B walking. Coming back, did it in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Um, we were walking side by side, three of us, and a hand went in front of our headlamp, two of our headlamps.
Wow.
I've probably got 50 to 100 rocks from a gifted site. Uh, I, I don't even know where to begin. They're just so much, really.
Right. That's a lot of interactions. You gotta bear with me, people. It's hard for me to read this far from my laptop. Every booty build immunity. Ah, all right. But there's something with you that attracts these animals or beasts, however you want to call them, to you. And to me that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And what do you think that's causing that or is going on with that?
I don't know. I heard one time from somebody that if you saw one, you're marked for life, that you have a higher chance of seeing them again. But then I've heard, like I talked about earlier, about uh, my buddy and I both have serious head injuries. It may have something to do with lineage.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It it's bothersome sometimes.
Well, it seems like every time you go out you encounter something or something happens.
I'd say 70% of the time.
That's wild. That is.
And I'm not saying it's all Bigfoot. Some of it's paranormal. Like this
Right.
past weekend, there was a green glowing light, and as I approached it, it moved away. A single light. Don't know what it was. Probably never will.
And see, I don't understand what those are either because I hear a lot of people talk about them. The glowing lights, the orbs, the green, the blue, the red. I have no idea what they are.
Well, like talking about orbs, I met my wife on an expedition. Um, she paid to go on the expedition, and I was one of the ones taking people out. We were sitting on a lawn. This is the night we Cupid shot us in the heart. We both saw a bright blue orb right before that moment happened.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And she has been with me, strange light. About a month ago, we watched what looked like somebody had a flashlight, except it wasn't emitting light. And it went from like white to orange to blue and was moving just like somebody was walking down the side of the mountain.
That's wild. I mean, what could somebody explain that to be? It's
But
sure
something,
it ain't swamp gas.
no, but something correlates with the strange light and Bigfoot hotspot.
Yeah, I've heard that quite a bit as well, and that's where I said before, Mr. John, early in the conversation, is where do you draw the line in the sand, where you can say it's not, you
You can
know,
go down a rabbit hole.
and you never know where you may pop up or where you're going to go during that rabbit hole or going down the rabbit hole. That's for sure. It's I would like to have answers. I know people like to have answers. That's the truth. But, why is the government now slowly releasing footage and telling us aliens do exist? What are they prepping us for? What's coming next?
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense. They did not for all these years, and I think some of the things that we see in the air is what we built by reverse engineering. Don't get me wrong, it's just my theory. But I mean, you look at the SR-71 Blackbird, the U-2 spy plane, and the first time the stealth fighter had to emergency land at the airport, people were freaking out. They didn't know what it was. They never saw anything like that, and
right.
that shape or that color. It was a UFO to them. So, but yeah, it's pretty wild. That's for sure.
It is. It. You can go down so many rabbit holes and get into like what I call woo,
Hmm.
and I still believe they're flesh and blood. And one of my theories behind that, if they were not, the Native Americans would have referred to them as spiritual beings, not the wood people, tribal
Oh,
wood,
you make
before
a good point. That's a valid point. That is, yeah. I mean, I can't argue with that point. They've been around since early civilization. We have them in pictoglyphs, hieroglyphs, paintings, on walls and rocks. We have Nephilim in the Bible, the giants in the Bible. So it's once again is where do you draw the line? And I think that every time we draw a line, we have to erase the line and move the line forward some more.
correct.
You may be having these experiences your way like this, and somebody else that I interview or speak with or interviewee may have the total opposite experiences, but still have the encounters. And nobody's right or wrong, you know. Maybe they can do certain things that other clans or other types of Sasquatch, Bigfoots are not able to. I don't know,
Yeah,
you know. But when you have people like yourself that comes forward and saying, "Hey, this is my encounters. These are my experiences," you know, and I don't give two rocks if you believe me or not. I was there. I got witnesses. I mean, how does an average person take that? I mean, you can't say everybody's crazy,
right.
and you can't say all the pictures that are taken and the videos are taken are all fake and fraud. There's no way. Now, are some of them hoax? Yeah. I told you little Johnny's drunk out in the woods, running around in ape suit. We know that happens. We know people that fake footprints. We know all about that, you know. But somebody that has experience in the field can determine whether they are being hoaxed or not.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if you run around this part of the country in ape suit, you probably get shot. So, you know,
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't think about that. And Todd says, and they know how to manipulate aspects of their environments. And I believe that. You know, how they can just blend in, you know, step right into the wood lines and disappear. How they do it, I don't know. You know, like John said about deer hunting. So the thought that there may be interdimensional beings like cat people actually freaks people out. Well, yeah.
They're also very quick. I saw one. It was, I hate to say it, but it was cartoon quick how fast it ran. Then
I've heard that
there,
before.
then there's the belly crawl, spider crawl, whatever you want to call it.
No, that's freaky.
Yes, that is.
That's downright freaky.
And something else a lot of people don't think about. Look up. I actually caught one going from tree to tree.
Really?
And if I wouldn't have been looking up, never would have saw it.
Wow.
And that makes me wonder, like, when some of these trackways in the woods just disappear.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. It really would. And you're not the only person that said that we need to look up. You know, Expedition Bigfoot, that big TV show everybody watches, you know, they are starting to look up. You know, when it comes to things like this that we're discussing, you have to think outside the box. And
Yeah.
that's what I think. You know,
And you can't go out there like a lot of these TV show and get results.
right.
Go out there and act like a normal person, but pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, I think they're curious creatures.
I have gotten, they will respond to a wood dog and they will respond to a rock flash. But as far as call blasting the howl, I don't. Every now and then you might have something to respond, but no.
Yeah. I've heard that as long as well. You know, different parts of the country or the world. Some things work, some things do not work. You know, I keep bringing up Expedition Bigfoot or Alaskan Killer Bigfoot when they were call blasting. They don't know what the hell they're call blasting out. It can be a, you know, or a war song or war
Mating
tune.
call.
Yeah, a mating call, anything.
But like talking about the rock flag, and I had a few witnesses with me on that. We had saw something run across the road. Didn't know what it was, just something went across. We walked up and I did some rocks and did tap tap, got a response, tap tap. This went on for a few minutes. Then I went dun 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 dun. It repeated.
Wow.
Then I went dun 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 dun, dun and stopped. And down in the woods, you heard dun, dun.
Wow.
And there was a few people with me when that happened.
That's wild. You know.
And
Hopefully, go ahead.
then one time, there were several of us doing real light rock tap, and it sounded like one picked up two boulders and slapped them together.
Wow. I wonder how they get so massive and so big.
I don't know.
Not only that, but how much they have to eat per day to survive.
Yeah.
You know, I had one guy that was on the show, John. I was interviewing him, and this is really strange, and this actually happened. I believe him. He was bow hunting. He was up in the tree stand, and a deer walked out roughly 60 something yards, and he took a shot and he missed. He saw the arrow go right over its back and hit the dirt. Well, the deer took off. Well, he said, well, that's it for me for today. And he talked out loud, and he was upset because he missed his deer and he wanted sausage and jerky and stuff. And he was just talking like normal, to himself. The next morning, he goes out, and there is a doe right as you walk into the woods on his path with the neck broken. And he's like, guys, I can't take this. The meat's spoiled. You know, I mean, he didn't know what to think. He's never saw anything like that.
Yeah.
He said the neck was broken and the head was turned around backwards. So he drug it down the creek and covered up with some brush and stuff because he didn't want anybody to think that he was poaching. And he said when he went to leave for that day, and it was just right around the corner from his deer stand, he said the deer was gone. No drag marks. You can see his drag marks. It's like something picked it up, put it on its shoulder, and walked off with it. So they are smart.
Yeah.
They are very smart. I hear a lot of people call them dumb apes. No, not by far. Not by far. Some of the sounds that they can mimic and create, and some of the things they can do.
It is unreal.
Yeah.
We have heard skill saws running out in the middle of the woods. Me and a buddy were on a mountainside and going up the ridge where there are no roads. Sounded like a big truck with a backup alarm.
That's wild.
We've heard cars, like sounds of cars, down where there are no roads, down in the valley. One time in Florida, we heard what sounded like a car coming through the woods. Its closest road was probably 3/4 of a mile, but it sounded like it was coming right at.
Yeah. See, you can't explain that. I think there's so much to them that we still don't know and we're still trying to learn. But I think certain people are locking in certain ways and not thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
The first time I saw one on all fours, it looked like a spider. It was in a photograph, and the guy knew he was being watched. And as he was walking along the path, he pulled out his cell phone and he just started taking pictures as he walked. Didn't look at him. And when he got home, he just freaked out because there was one not even 15 yards in front of or to the left of him. And this, let me see if I can get in the camera. It's always backwards. It's a little bitty gully, like a little creek bed, was on all fours like a spider. And it looked like it was ready to pounce on him. Then 15, 18 yards behind him or it, there's one looking, peeping around a tree. You know how they do that, peep around the tree
Yeah.
back and forth? So, it's just, I heard today talking to somebody off camera that one of them was in the tree stand, three were on the ground, and one shot one. It bled, and all hell broke loose in the woods.
Yeah.
They were coming out of everywhere. It reminded me Planet of the Apes, the new ones. You know how they all come out and start to attack the humans and stuff?
Yeah.
And this guy said he was never so scared before in his life. He has been back in the woods. He didn't take the shot, but he said he saw them crawling and closing in on his friends like a military unit, on its bellies like a spider. There's a couple in a tree, a couple of them running down the path. And the only thing that saved them is they got so far down the path and everybody turned around and hit all their flashlights and spotlights on them. And of course they don't like the light, so they went back. He didn't portray that he killed it, but how many colors can Sasquatch squeeze out of fruit and nuts? Mushrooms, forests, green, small woodland creatures, bird songs, and the odd bear or deer. Yeah, that I couldn't tell you. Or how many calories, sorry. I mean, that's true. I mean, there's been bear carcasses that are unexplainable, with their jaws ripped open or their mouth torn apart. I mean, these things are huge. So,
And strong.
Yeah, that's the truth. And I had farmers on the show that tells me that if you don't put corn feed out a certain time of the year or a certain time of the month, then they don't. If it's not there, then they go to the hog pen and take one of the hogs and carry it off, and you can hear it squeal all the way.
We heard one night, speaking of hogs, we heard a hog squealing like something was chasing him. And behind it, you could hear thump, thump, thump real fast. Then all of a sudden, the pig made like a loud squeal, like something grabbed a hold of it, and you heard a too loud thump. And you heard something walk off.
See, you can't explain that.
No.
You really can't. So that's for sure. That is for sure. And no matter what we do, no matter what we say, no matter what our experiences are in this world, you can take it or leave it. That's the way I look at it. If you're in a Facebook group, you don't agree with somebody's topic, subject, or experience or encounter, scroll on. Don't be negative, because that hurts the other people. Mr. John, how does people get a hold of you?
Find me on Facebook, or my email is troutbum, OUTBUM2255 at Gmail.
At gmail.com?
Yes.
Rock on, man. That's great. Man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. You made me go brain dead. And I may have to change my britches here in a minute after some of the counters you talked about. That's just why I can't imagine waking up something rubbing my head. That's freaky. But there's something about you and them that goes together, and you're going to continue having this experience for the rest of your life. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And I urge you to write that book. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be on Grizzly's show, all you have to do is email me at Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. Once again, that's Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for that day. I must go to another live show from coast to coast and around the world. We thank you. And John and myself, we really thank you for tuning in, and we greatly appreciate it. And have a good evening, folks.
Have a good